For everyone who's joining in, welcome. We'll give it one more minute before we start rolling. Thank you. Naima, Naisha, Lalit, Tanushri, thank you all so much for being here this morning. These are some really nice fun facts about your universities. How many of you all actually visited campus, the campuses that you all are going to be matriculating? Okay, wow, that's even more exciting, right? A lot in store for you guys. We'll give it one more minute because we just have attendees all rolling in. So let's give it a minute. Okay, so I think let's start now. Thank you all. Yes, those are some really fun, interesting fun facts. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to Journey to College, Journey to the New Age Ivy League colleges. Yes, I think you heard me right. We are going to be exploring strategies that can help you be successful to the New Age Ivy League colleges and to these highly selective colleges. So yes, if the New Age Ivy League colleges, these highly selective colleges are your goal, today's session will not only help you think ahead, plan ahead, definitely have a surer, a stronger chance at being successful, but definitely feeling a lot more inspired, motivated by the fantastic insights that our panelists are going to be sharing today. I'm sure at this point of time, many of y'all have questions like, what is this term, the New Age Ivy League? Is this even for real? Where did this term come from? So rest assured, we will be helping you answer all those questions through the course of the webinar today. But with that, I also kind of want to just make a note that as educational consultants and as experts in the field, we're really, really glad that certain institutions are now rightly acknowledged and duly, considered as the New Age Ivy League colleges. So yes, we had traditional Ivy League colleges. Then we had the Ivy Plus, which include colleges like MIT and Duke and Stanford. We also have the little Ivies, which are the smaller liberal arts colleges, including the likes of Swarthmore, Williams, Pomona. And yes, now we have the New Age Ivy League colleges. So there is a common thread that they share with the traditional Ivy League colleges, which is absolute commitment to excellence, academic, rigorous academics, exceptional and interesting, innovative approach, opportunities, a very strong alumni, robust alumni, and a reputation that far extends beyond those campus gates. So yes, it's about time that institutions, reflecting such high standards, are given their due recognition, are acknowledged as the New Age Ivy League colleges. So with that, I would like to now introduce our panelists for today. A very good morning, Tanushri, Nisha, Naima, Lalit. Thank you all so much for taking the time for our audiences. Our panelists are fall 2024 students, meaning they've just completed the cycle. And this is a very exciting time for them. The last few weeks before they fly the nest, last few weeks of just packing together and deciding whether you're taking Maggie or whether you're taking, which is the next kurkure. I think those are the new favorites. But thank you all. So, in the midst of all of this for taking the time and, being here this morning. But more importantly, a huge congratulations. You all have secured some amazing acceptances, stellar scholarships. We will be talking about that. And more importantly, navigating this college application journey so beautifully. And lastly, just a really, really huge thank you for trusting us as your partners in this educational sort of journey, partnering, trusting us for, helping you navigate this, but just very, very grateful and humbled to have been a part of your higher education journey. So with that, can I quickly have the panelists introduce themselves? Your name, high school, the curricula that you've just graduated from, and the college that you'll be matriculating at. Lalit, can we start with you? Lalit,
Hi,
are you
my
there?
name is Hi, my name is Lalit. I'm based in Sri Lanka and I studied at Lyceum International School. I did the Cambridge curriculum for my O levels and my A levels, and I'll be starting my Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science next year at NYU. This year at NYU.
Super. Naima?
Hi, my name is Naima. I'm from Mumbai and I studied at the Bombay International School. I just did the IB curriculum and I'm going to be doing English literature and chemistry at USC this fall.
Fantastic. Thank you, Naima, for that. Nisha?
Hi, I'm Nisha and I'm Naima's twin. So I also study at the Bombay International School and I'm going to go to Emory University to study creative writing and biology.
Thank you, Nisha. Tanushri?
Hi, I'm Tanushri. I'm from Mumbai and I studied at DY Patil International School. I also did the IB curriculum and I'm going to be going to Tufts University this fall to study psychology.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. It makes me just so proud and so thrilled to be, hosting you all and having worked so closely, the team has worked so closely with you all. We have so much that we can share from your journey, and I'm thrilled to bring that to the audience. So with that, a quick introduction to who is the Red Pen, because we have many, many new families. Just a quick introduction to us. We are an independent educational consultancy, very much based in Mumbai, where we mentor students from all across the globe. Like we have Lalit here from Sri Lanka, where we mentor students all across the globe. Our team is based all across the globe, so we are truly global. But I think this clip will summarize it the best.
Thinking of completing your undergraduate studies abroad? You're in the right place. The Red Pen is an 11-year-old global education consultancy that has helped over 10,000 applicants secure admission to some of the world's most prestigious colleges. Our team is dispersed across the world in places like the US, UK, Canada, Europe, Singapore, and India, and has in-depth knowledge of the application process at selected international universities. Our consultants, essay experts, and interview specialists have graduated from top 20 global institutions, including Oxbridge and the Ivy League. And many are parents themselves who understand the journey you are about to embark on. We are also members of global professional networks, which give us access to admissions officers and updated information on university trends. And we pool our expertise and insights for your applications. Our track record really does speak volumes about us.
99% of our students have received offers.
We've secured over $45 million in scholarships.
More than 50 unique majors such as computer science, business, economics, psychology of fashion, and the science of food preservation.
And admission to over 15 countries, including India, the US, UK, Canada, Singapore, Spain, and several others.
Our students have been admitted to every competitive university in the world. Harvard, Yale, Brown, Columbia, Penn,
Caltech, Stanford, MIT, UC Berkeley, U Chicago, Rice, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, LSE,
Dartmouth, Cornell, Carnegie Mellon, Duke, Northwestern,
Ashoka, Korea, University of Toronto, UBC, Erasmus, and Sciences Po.
We offer all-inclusive packages and a la carte services for every type of application anywhere in the world.
college research and selection,
brainstorming and editing essays,
Conducting mock interviews.
and providing strategies for scholarships and letters of recommendation.
The Red Pen is a one-stop solution for all your undergraduate application needs. To reduce the stress of the competitive application process, start as early as grade 8. We help you discover your passions, explore extracurricular activities, and prepare for a world of opportunities that await you. Contact us today to reach your academic goals.
Yes, so I think that is a brilliant introduction to all our services, our team, and again, proud and thrilled to be sharing. This is our current year record where just like the students that our panelists, These are our admits for this cycle, where we've successfully seen students admitted to all the selective colleges across the globe, ranging from the competitive liberal arts colleges in India, such as Ashoka, Clark, Kshatriya, along with the highly selective colleges across UK, US, Canada. And the next slide, which is more on the actual data, is really amazing. Our students have received over 980 admissions from admissions to 217 universities. We've mentored students from across 18 countries. But the data that I generally am really, really thrilled to share is the merit scholarships. Scholarships awarded over $10 million to our students in this cycle alone. And the reason that, this is so close to my heart is that merit scholarships are warranted, basis, of course, your profile, but the applications that you submit. So every component of that application, the way you've reflected, whether it's your essays, your interviews, your activities, it all has to come across and come together beautifully, cohesively. That's when you're making that impression. That's when, the college is awarding you that merit scholarship, communicating that, yes, we really want you. So our students have been awarded over $10 million in scholarships. And I would like to give a huge shout out here to the entire undergrad, team of mentors, lead consultants, and content specialists, because this is a true testament to all the hard work that goes behind, each and every of our applicants. Okay, so with that, can we move on to the next slide? Oh, okay. Another ethos that I really would like to highlight out here is, at the Red Pen, we truly believe in helping families stay abreast with all the various, changes and new things happening in the higher education landscape. We are constantly putting a lot of information out on our social media, which is TRP Mumbai, on our YouTube, on our LinkedIn. So new campus is like, BITS Pilani has started a new campus very much in Mumbai, which is liberal arts and law and even design. Partnerships between probably Indian and international universities, new testing requirements or testing requirements that could be eliminated. So we are constantly putting a lot of information out there. In fact, the Red Pen blog, do visit our website. Our blog, which is amazing in terms of resources, is another great place to stay abreast, because we are constantly putting information which will help you be, definitely will empower you to navigate this journey more confidently. Another resource that I just realized, and that is something that again you all can purchase, is we have this book called Acing Admissions. I don't know whether it's very clear. It's very much available on Amazon. It is a book authored by our co-founder, Dr. Kim Dixit and Kavita Mehta. If you read this book start to finish, and definitely I would strongly recommend all our high school parents, this should be your bedside book, your Bible. Reading this book cover to cover will help you navigate this entire higher education journey beautifully, and you will be feeling really, really independent in, every time you kind of come across certain doubts. Okay, fantastic. So with that, let's move on to next slide, please. Yes, the reason we are here today. What is, this new term, the new age IVs? Where did this term come from? So recently, Forbes released a list of, the new IVs, which they have curated after interviewing many, many hiring managers. They have shortlisted 10 universities in the public sector, known as the public IVs, and 10 in the private ones, as the private IVs. They have collated data from over 1,700 universities having more than 4,000 students, and factored in various parameters, whether it was academics, the postgrad outcomes, retention, graduation, so on and so forth. Here is a quick snapshot of the private new age IVs and the public new age IVs. Yes, we know as consultants that we also could add a few more to this list, because there are many other institutions that very much reflect everything that the new age IVs are also offering. Let's understand why these colleges are called highly selective. Can we move on to the next slide? Perfect. So I think nothing like data to help families understand why they are called highly selective. The selection rate, or can I say the acceptance rate over the last 3 years, has drastically changed. It's diminished. We can see at these universities that acceptance rates are going to single digits and practically reaching half what they were 3 years back. And many factors contribute to this. One big such factor is, of course, colleges going test optional. That is, Earlier, US institutions required the SAT or the ACT, but it was through COVID and even after COVID that many continue to remain test optional, which means that you do not necessarily need to submit that SAT or the ACT score. They truly do evaluate in a holistic way and not necessarily that, SAT or ACT is required, but I'll speak on a little bit more on that later. But as you can see in 2021, for example, NYU had an acceptance rate of close to 13%, which is now close to 8%. USC from 16% has gone to 9%. Similarly, Emory and Tufts equally shrinking, but the volume of applications, as you can see, is staggering. So the volume of applications has, of course, exploded, but the colleges still have the same number of seats. It's not that their intake has, expanded in the same ratio, and that is what makes it highly, highly selective. It's the volume versus the number of, acceptances. With that, I would like to help families understand what is it that, colleges evaluate when you're talking about being a competitive applicant. Can we go on to the next slide? Thank you. So it's important for all the new families to know that what is the evaluation process that the US sort of, embraces. And it is known as the holistic evaluation approach. Holistic meaning they want to know you in complete totality, not just review a single aspect or a linear aspect of your profile, which could be just data, which is your metrics. That is the evaluation approach, more so when you talk about the traditional Indian, colleges or the UK colleges. Today, Tanushri, Nisha, Naima, Lalit will talk about their overall profile. And it is when all these three cylinders firing together, come together cohesively, beautifully in a very, very sort of homogeneous manner, that you are making that impact, or that, you're telling the university that, yes, pick me. My profile is strong enough in the complete overall capacity. So these are the three buckets or the cylinders that we encourage all students and families to be very, very mindful about. First being data. Data is everything related to your metrics. Everything that tells a college admissions officer what is your academic potential, the subject rigor, the standardized test scores, your overall grades, any academic achievements, national, international academic sort of competitions, everything that tells them that, yes, I can sustain in the rigor that you're offering. The data is your backbone. Voice and talent will not compensate or make up for data that can be weak, because colleges also want to do you a service. Colleges are very, very rigorous, and it's a jump when you talk about, moving from high school to college. So they want you to sustain, they want you to thrive in that rigor that they're offering. Then comes voice and talent, which tells the university and the admissions officer a little bit more about you, what you're bringing to their campus. University admission officers are also building a class, right? They are building a class of, budding, say, pharmacists, budding economists, athletes, musicians, policymakers. So they want a very well-rounded batch of, say, class of 2028, which is going to be the fall 2024, the students who are starting college this year. So they want to see what is your passion that you're bringing to campus. They want to know more about you as a human, through your essays. The essays, in fact, are like the hook and the most exciting part of the application for admission officers, because that's where they get to know a little bit more about you. And admission officers say that if they had to, fill their classes on data alone, they could fill their classes like 3 and 4 times over. That's not what they want to do. They want to fill their classes with humans. And that's why voice and talent is a very critical component. And that's where, starting the process early will really help. And I think I would now, I definitely want the stars for today to talk about more on that. So with that, let's move into the topic for today, which is helping understand these new age Ivy League colleges and the highly selective colleges. We will be breaking down USC, Emory, NYU, and Tufts for you all through our applicants who've been successfully admitted. So over to you guys. The spotlight is on you all. Let's start with USC. So can I have Naima? Can you? Hi, thank you so much again for being here. Naima, firstly, huge congratulations. I definitely want to list out all the fantastic acceptances that you've achieved and the absolutely stellar scholarships. Then you will help us understand a little bit about your profile, so families will get a good sense of what kind of profile, when we talk about data, voice, and talent, goes behind getting these successful admits. So Naima, of course, is going to be starting at USC. English literature is her intended major. She has been admitted to, okay, and let's hear, I'll go with the list. Johns Hopkins University, Washington University, St. Louis, USC, of course, UNC Chapel Hill, Wake Forest, Tulane, University of Rochester, University of St. Andrews, Dartmouth, which is the traditional Ivy League college. So that is one impressive list, Naima. And Naima was also awarded some amazing scholarships. These are merit scholarships. I would like families to make a note here that these are merit scholarships. So basis, you warrant that on the basis of your merit. Your profile has to really impress them. So Naima was awarded the Trustee Scholarship, which is the full tuition at USC. She has been awarded the University of Rochester Yearly Scholarship, the Prince Street Scholarship, which is $25,000 annually. Additionally, with another $3,500 for research. She was also awarded the full tuition scholarship at Tulane, which is the South Asian Scholarship. That's absolutely impressive. We can stop sharing screen. Thank you. So Naima, over to you. The spotlight's on you. Can you help us understand a little bit on your profile so families get a great sense of, what helped make the cut?
Sure. So in IGCSE, I got 10 A stars. Then IB, I got a 44. My ACT was a 36. Yeah, and I was also like a winner, one of the winners of an international short story competition. And yeah, that's
fantastic. So as we can see, excellent data. Of course, there was the voice and talent we'll get into soon. Naima, if I remember, you also were a recipient of multiple, school academic awards as also.
yeah. So I was one of the toppers, and I was awarded some like scholarship for some award for just like one of those like all rounder sort of awards. So yeah,
fantastic. Okay, so my first question to you is, Naima, because we emphasize so much on extracurriculars, right? Families, they know the one big thing when you start grade 9 and 10 is like, let me start building that CV of mine. So my question to you is, which is that early and sustained activity, that you kind of kick-started early, which you feel significantly contributed to, your overall CV and also helped you while writing your essays?
Yeah, so I think the most important extracurricular that I did was the Mumbai Tree Project, which was an initiative to document the cultural, scientific, historical, and personal role that different trees play in Mumbai. So I did it with my twin sister, who's also here, and we documented the trees by area. We highlighted the iconic trees of the city, conducted interviews with around 7 experts, and used extensive photographs and research to display all this information on a website. So our final goal was to create a connection between the citizens of Mumbai and the trees of their city by giving all the trees their own unique personalities. And this was basically a response to the cutting down, concretization, and excessive pruning of trees in the city, which is something that really upset Nisha and me. So yeah, that was, I think, the most important thing that I did because I was so passionate about it, and I used it to like showcase my love of English, for example, by highlighting the stories of the trees while also showcasing my love of science and all of that. So it was a really important project. Then music, I've played the cello for over 10 years. I've performed as a soloist in a trio, in orchestras, and even in pop and rock music concerts. So because I've played for so long and so extensively, I think it was also an important part of my essays and application. And lastly, for writing, my work has been published in like some writing magazines. And I've gotten a children's book published with Nisha. So that was also important because I did apply for English literature. Yeah.
Fantastic. Nisha and Naima are definitely a powerhouse when it comes to being twins. But what I would love to note out here is that Naima and Nisha started, engaging in an activity out of true passion. They truly felt for, the trees being chopped down. It was through COVID, right? If I'm not mistaken, Naima, it was in COVID that you all thought of this. And that time it was not related to, okay, am I thinking and how am I going to connect it to my academic interest? It was a passion started 2 years prior, and they built on it continuously over the last 2-3 years, where they then interviewed experts in the field. They put a website together. They were very creative on, showcasing each tree with their story behind it, giving their names. It was a very, very unique project, but which was which showed authenticity, which showed genuine passion, and that showed consistency. So I would like the families to know that colleges in the US want to see what are you genuinely passionate about. It's not about checking the boxes. It's about showcasing your true passion and the depth to which you are showcasing that. So the consistency in the number of years that you have kind of engaged with that, the depth in which you've showcased, engaging in that passion. So Naima, that was a fantastic sort of an activity, and of course she had added on so much more, showing the consistency in her music passion, her writing, where there was publications that she had to her credit. All of this goes together when you're also awarded such amazing scholarships. So Naima, thank you so much for that. My next question to you, Naima, is on the Common App essay. I know the essays is one big component that students generally procrastinate on. The Common App essay is your main essay, which goes to every university which you're applying on the Common App. So Naima, if you can help me understand that, how did your Common App essay convey your academic passions in a way that's not captured on the other components of your application?
So I actually did my Common App essay on Radiohead, which is a band that I really love. So I used 2 Radiohead songs to weave together the different aspects of my identity. For example, me as a reader, which instantly connects to English literature, which is what I'm applying for. And also me as an observer, which also indirectly connects to English literature because of analyzing and all of that. So I did it in this way. I didn't directly just talk about my academic interests or me as a student, because I wanted to use the Common App essay as a space to seem more human, to give a lot of personal examples, humor that I would not have space for in other parts of my application. So I essentially saw it as a place for frivolity and just to have a bit of fun with the admissions officer. So, but I did try to showcase my love of literature anyway by for example, mentioning books, mentioning my journey as a reader, but I still kept it within the framework of my Common App essay, or kept it within the Radiohead framework so that it would seem more authentic than just listing it out and all. So yeah, that's what I did.
Fantastic. So just for our families to note that when you are showcasing yourself through those essays, it's very important that you are telling the admissions officer a little bit more about you, which is not captured on the other, components of the application. It should not be a laundry list again of what you've written probably in the resume, because your components need to be well connected. But at the same time, each component of that application, that 10-page PDF that goes, needs to showcase a little bit more about you, so that every different angle of you as a person is, reflected. And that's what Naima did. She showcased the fun, the creative, she connected her passion for music and writing and showcased all of that rather than just listing out, things that are probably seen on the other parts of the application. And the Common App essay is definitely a space that you should use in a way to let them know anything and everything, because that's your true voice. So thank you, Naima, for sharing that on the Common App essay. My last question to you, Naima, is on letters of recommendation. Again, this is a component that sometimes students do not realize, the kind of weightage that it carries. They scramble at the last minute to get that brag sheet together. So my question to you, Naima, is, who wrote your letters of recommendation in terms, your teachers, and what did you highlight in those brag sheets for your teachers to ensure that your letters of recommendation are impactful?
Yeah, so I chose my chemistry and English teacher because I think those were my 2 favorite subjects at the time, and they still are. So I instantly thought that it would seem more authentic because I already had a good relationship with the teachers, and they were subjects that I was genuinely passionate about. So in my brag sheet, I think the most important thing that I would recommend you guys do is be really specific in your brag sheet. Give very specific examples and all, because they have to write many recommendation letters, and it's very easy at the time to, like, even if you have a really good relationship with them, they might forget like some instant that you were asking questions in class. Those were the sort of stuff I highlighted, especially for chemistry, like how I was like always like checking my making sure that I understood the concepts properly, always asking questions in class to highlight my curiosity and all. Because I knew that at the time, like, my chemistry teacher might not remember this stuff. So yeah, it's really important to take time over your brag sheet and make sure it's specific and has some good examples.
Fantastic. Tanushree, did you manage to attend and, get your brag sheet together well ahead of time, or was it a little last minute?
I think it was in the middle, so I was able to get it in time, and it was actually really helpful to get it done before, so I could focus on my Common App essay and writing the other essays for my colleges.
Absolutely. So just for our students, on the webinar here, it's called a brag sheet, brag for a reason. You're supposed to brag about yourself. You're supposed to give, your teachers enough to help them make your letters of recommendation impactful. That will go a long way. In fact, last week we had hosted students from the Ivy Leagues, our current students at Ivy League colleges, and they spoke that, once you're at college, you get the opportunity or the option to review your admit file. So you get to see the weightage or the grading that, your various components of the evaluation kind of hold. So it can be whether it is grades, whether it is, interviews, whether it is, your letters of recommendation. And they mentioned that it goes such a long way. Just one second, just one second. Sorry. So it goes such a long way in terms of, the weightage that it carries in your evaluation process. So thank you, Naima, for, helping students understand that the pick of, the fact that the teachers that you select, thinking ahead of time, is so important. And also, just one more point to note out here is that families very often ask us, sometimes students who've changed schools between 10th and 11th, that, can we take recommendation letters from our students, from our teachers from grade 9 and 10? So here I would like to add that admission officers want to see the most recent reflection of you. So you are submitting applications. So for example, for this batch, your applications have been submitted in 2023. You're of course going to start college in 2024. So they want to see the most recent reflection of the kind of student that you've been, right? So that is through teacher recommendation letters, which they would like to have as recent as possible of, of course, 23 and 22 versus 21 and 20, because high school students are students who are changing a lot, correct? So they want to know the most recent reflection. So our advice always is with families to ensure that, you're taking and asking your most recent teachers for the letters of recommendation. Okay. With that, Naima, my question to you last is that what is the advice you would like to give high school students who are preparing for their applications for the new age Ivy League colleges?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing that I didn't know at the beginning, I'd say, is focus on the essays. I think for me, my essays were the most important part of my application. So what I recommend is do multiple drafts of your essay. Like, don't just do it on one day and submit it, because the next day when you reread it, you will inevitably find some like problems with it. So keep on working on and polishing on your essays. I think that's also important because you can sometimes reuse essays. So you just want the best possible essays. You can send them to as many like universities. So yeah.
Thank you, Naima. That is so important because right now, just round the corner, we have August 1st and supplement prompts will be released. So for, all our fall 2025 applicants, it's time that your Common App essay is pretty much done and you are ready to kickstart those supplement essays. So thank you, Naima, for that. Just a housekeeping note that I forgot to mention, that please feel free to post your questions in the chat box. Panelists as well as, the TRP team will be happy to answer and address all your questions parallelly in case in the end we do not get time to open up, to the Q&A. So thank you so much. Nisha, let's have the spotlight on you. So the next university that we will be focusing on is Emory. So Nisha, of course, again, just like Naima, and I very rightly think you're a powerhouse of, sisters. I am going to list the brilliant, the acceptances that that you've received, and the amazing scholarships as well, the merit scholarships. So Nisha will be starting at Emory University, and she has received successful acceptances from University of Notre Dame, Rice, Emory, Boston College, University of Toronto, Davidson College, University of Richmond, and BU, that's Boston University. Additionally, Nisha has been awarded the Woodruff Scholarship, which is a full tuition, lodging, housing scholarship at Emory, which is absolutely brilliant. I will get into that because that is almost like a 1% chance. Then she was also awarded the University of Richmond Scholars Award, which covers full tuition, housing, and food. The Boston Trustee Scholarship, which covers tuition. The Grinnell College Scholarship, which is, again, a full close to 60,000. An award of $100,000 from University of Toronto. So this completely amazes me, Nisha. I literally have goosebumps that as international students, it is incredible, absolutely incredible. So can you share a brief snapshot, Nisha, of your profile that will help families understand how they can aspire to be such competitive applicants?
Yes, definitely. So in terms of data, my IB predictive was 45. I got 36 in my ACT and I got 10 A stars in my IGCSE. I'm sorry for the background noise. In terms of academic awards, I was one of two people in the 10th grade to get the school's all-rounder award, and I placed first in Spanish in IGCSE, and I've also won. I also came third in an international essay writing competition, which is the Jane Austen Society of North America's essay writing competition.
Wow, that is amazing. So my first question to you is, Nisha, that which activity do you feel? Because again, I definitely want to touch upon that because when you are a recipient of such amazing scholarships, it's everything that goes into account, right? Which activities do you feel really help distinguish your application?
So I think a main component of my application was leadership roles at school. So I've been a treasurer and president of the student government in the Bombay International School. And I think the reason this was so important was not just because of the roles themselves, but because through these roles, I was able to do a lot of other service activities or creative activities. And I was also able to, as president, help lead the core student government. And because of this, I feel like it really firstly helped me grow as a person and skills which later played an important role in interviews, and it also helped me like get a chance to do a range of different activities that I could put in my application. Other things are some things that Naima's already addressed, like the children's book I wrote and published with her, which I am planning to study creative writing at Emory. So I feel like that was useful. And yeah, I've played the piano for 13 years. So it's been like a big commitment. And then lastly, the Mumbai Tree project, which formed an important part of my application that Naima's already spoken about.
Fantastic. So you all both truly reflected and demonstrated that depth, that genuine passion, and that commitment to certain activities that you all decided to take on. And yes, again, for families to know, it is consistency and depth in the high school that matters when it comes to your extracurriculars. Lalit, my question along the same lines to you is that, and again, this I will be, it will be very helpful for family students, that it does get stressful when you have to manage, your academics and this depth in and consistency in extracurriculars. So any advice on that? Did you also go through bouts of asking yourself, like, why am I doing this?
I did, but I feel that while it is stressful, it also most of these extracurricular activities also give you an outlet to reduce your stress, and they can also be enjoyable. So I feel that you should go for extracurriculars that can be enjoyable, so you are building your resume and having fun at the same time.
You touched on such a great point. Yes. Engage in things that you enjoy so that it doesn't feel like an activity or you don't feel like you have to do it. Uh, you do it with passion, you do it, genuinely, and then it just becomes such a fun thing that definitely translates when you are, writing those essays or, discussing that in your interviews. Okay. So my next question to you, Nisha, is on supplemental essays. So yes, Naima spoke about the Common App essay. Let's have you share your experience on the supplement essays. So just letting the audience know that when you are applying to the US institutions, and on an average, you're applying to around 10 to 12 because that's the limit that, most schools across the globe have. You're writing a whole deal of essays. So of course, you have your Common App essay, which is that main essay. But then there is something called the supplemental essays, where it is the essay or the question that the university is putting forth because that is what they have a say and they want to know more about you. So it's a component that you really need to tackle with that sort of commitment, like your main Common App essay, because they could be shorter prompts, but I think sometimes they are more important than the Common App essay. So Nisha, my question to you is, on an average, how many supplement essays did you write?
I think at least 40 essays, and this is counting essays like for some scholarships, for some universities like Vanderbilt, for example, require extra essays. So counting that, yeah, over 40 probably.
Okay, so no pressure out here, just giving you numbers. No, but a lot of these supplement prompts are, the content is something that you can repurpose. So again, just for the families, just calming you down. But these are very important components. Nisha, my question to you on, again, the supplement essays is that what are the resources that you probably found very helpful when it came down to having the content for these supplement essays? And what would your advice be to future applicants?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of like how to research when you're writing the supplement essays, for the supplement essays that you really need to research is the why college ones, which I think are like super important, and not just in like what you write, but how you write it. I would say like it's really common and really good advice to find traditions from that university to put in these essays and like research online about them. But I would suggest making these, like looking for traditions that sort of connect back to your profile, connecting back to your interests, and not like the top 5 traditions that you'll find on the first page of the college, but trying to look a little deeper through the university website and trying to find traditions, trying to find events that are a little more specific and a little more connected with you. I would honestly say that um Reddit and all sometimes aren't the best resources in my experience, but it's from the university's website. And also speaking, of course, the other students who are already at the universities, that I found the best information, which really helped guide my supplemental essays.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Nisha. My next question to you is on interviews. Again, a very critical component for students. It's getting just more and more important because in the day and age that we are in, which is, the chat GPT, application material is over sanitized. So interviews is the sort of component that helps you showcase your authenticity and everything that is on that pen and paper. So Nisha, you are of course one of the top 1% finalists for the Emery Woodruff Award, which, just for families to know, receives almost 14,000 applications. It then is shortlisted to around 100 to 200, and then very few applicants are finally awarded. Nisha, you also, of course, because you were awarded, you and Naima were awarded so many scholarships. You all have not only written separate application essays for these scholarships, but you all have also gone through another, interview process, which was specifically for these scholarships. You had participated in around 8 to 9 interviews, half of them being for scholarships, half of them, being with seniors or alumni. So can you share a little bit about your entire interview process?
Yes, definitely. So for interviews, I think the most useful thing that I did would start preparing early. This is because I feel like interview preparation, it helps you become less stressed and more more confident, and this really comes across when you speak to your admissions officers. So when prepping for like interviews, a really important aspect that I realized over the course of my like 8 or 9 interviews is that you have to be prepared with research about that university. So you can ask major specific questions, or like university specific questions, which really show your commitment and help you come across as well prepared and like as a serious applicant. It also means that the admissions officers are way more likely to remember you. And you might think that, oh, it's just one admissions officer that you're speaking to in like a whole huge university. How will it help? But I think it really does help because they really do remember you. And often it's the people that work like with the Indian applicants, for example, that come to India. So there's a high chance that they will be reading your essays, and especially if you're interested in scholarships, that becomes really important. Essay, the interviews also help you become more than a piece of paper. Your They can see that your hobbies are not just like blind resume building, but are really passionate to you, and that you need to like showcase that. And yeah, and this is a really good way for you to show the admissions officers that you have these qualities which you can take to the university campus, and they can, yeah, help you.
Super. Thank you, Sunisha. That was a lot of advice. My question to you, again, any of you all can answer. How early did you start the interview process? Because I know at the Red Pen, we definitely started way early, like as early as April, May, and June, when your interviews could be even later. But so your advice to students that how early should one start it?
Yeah, I think I started at around June or July in my summer holidays. This this is really important. I feel like interview prep is like one of the most important things you can do because the questions often end up being pretty standard. You'll realize like what are you passionate about, why major, what do you like or dislike about the current high school you're in, what are you excited or scared about in college, what your biggest strengths are. So, given that these questions end up repeating across colleges, also, it's really worth it, in my opinion, to prepare points from before and already know from before how you'll approach questions. Especially since I feel like for question answers, it's quite easy to like just start rambling or just freeze. And if you start preparing by your summer holidays for the university questions, you learn how to be concise but still be passionate, and especially for like a why university essay where you need to show specific detail. A why university like question in an interview need to show detail, but at the same time you can't be rambling. Also, I feel like questions like what challenges have you faced or what failures have you experienced, or like can seem quite tricky at first, and you need to give an answer that seems a bit deep for them. So it's really worth it to take time to prepare for these before and try to connect them with examples from your life from before.
Absolutely. Beautifully sort of, highlighted that important that, you are specific, you showcase that you know the university that you're interviewing for, you are authentic, and these are reflective ones. So important that you prepare. Just a note out here to families that the Red Pen blog, and of course, we're going to put some links in the chat as well. There are some amazing blogs on, how should you prepare for interviews on something also known as a third party interview, which is gaining a lot of importance and momentum. And most universities, including the new age Ivy Leagues, selective Ivy Leagues, they all welcome the opportunity for, reviewing that third party interview. So do feel free to take that link and, review that blog. Okay, my next question to you is, Nisha, on, a very candid question that many families have, that generally families will say, parents will feel that I have a school counselor. So why do I need an independent counselor? Does an independent counselor help? What is the value add of an independent counselor? So I just want to sort of bust the myth out here and help families understand that it's not that, they have a symbiotic sort of a relationship, and it's not that one conflicts with the other. So can you help as a student, because you are from BIS? BIS, of course, has a very, very strong high school, counseling department. You worked with an independent counselor. So can you help us understand, or the families understand, that how did that help?
So yeah, I would definitely say it's not like one over the other, but both together help strengthen your application. And I think both sort of address different needs and sometimes help with the same ones. For example, through BIS, I was able to have some conversations with admissions officers. And through the Red Pen, I was also able to have some really like personal one-on-one conversations with admissions officers, including the Emory University admissions officers, which honestly really influenced my decision to finally choose Emory. So yeah, also my Red Pen advisor was always there for me on WhatsApp, always ready to answer questions and give advice. And was honestly, I feel like in the 12th grade, by that time with IEs, EEs, everything happening, I started procrastinating, and that's just so much. But the Red Pen really helps keep you on track, keep you on schedule, prevents any like deadlines being missed, which actually becomes pretty easy to miss at that time when there's just so many overwhelming things going on. And of course, I feel like at this point, it's such like a stressful and confusing time that it's really good to get all the help you can get. And I feel like having a source of advice through the Red Pen about everything was just super helpful and just helped me feel more assured and more confident. And I feel like that really helped me focus better on like the essays and the interviews when I knew that I had someone to help me navigate this process. So yeah, I would say both have been extremely helpful, but I would definitely like recommend the Red Pen because I feel like they were really amazing for my college journey.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you so much for those generous words. Just for our audience to know, this was not a part of the script. This is not an event to, market about us. It is genuinely an event and a session to share true advice from applicants to, for the future aspirants, and get them motivated. But thank you, Nisha. It's always great to hear, lovely and generous words about the Red Pen. So thank you so much for that. Your last piece of advice to future applicants?
So yeah, I think my biggest advice would be it's really important to try to convey yourself and showcase yourself and your interests in a different and unique way. Because in my opinion, I think admissions officers are right now looking for uniqueness and something different, hobby standing out. And so sometimes it doesn't even matter how much you've achieved in that hobby, but how unique that hobby is, how much it will stand out from all of the other thousands of applicants. And the other piece of advice I would have is when like writing essays or speaking in interviews, especially for why essays and answering why questions in interviews, keep connecting the question back to you. It's how you interpret the question. Like you should always put yourself in the question and basically through that try to build an essay with the admissions officer who's reading your answer or who's interviewing you, and yeah, try to come across as a person who can actively contribute to the campus in a different and interesting way.
Thank you, Nisha. Beautifully, beautifully said. I think I couldn't have put it any better. You highlighted everything that one should think ahead of. And, thank you so much for that. Nisha and Naima, you all have been absolutely amazing. Just for the audience to know that they have a social commitment. Their Nani has organized something for them. As we know that everyone is very close to leaving home. So they need to be there. And that's why they will need to leave this webinar early. Feel free to post any questions. They may have 1 or 2 minutes to help answer that, but 12:30 they'll have to leave. So thank you, Nisha, Naima. Absolute pleasure to host you all the very, very best. Stay in touch, and you all are going to embark on the next very exciting chapter of your life.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. You all are
Bye.
free to leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Super. So going on to Lalit. Lalit, let's have the spotlight on you. Let's talk about NYU, New York University. Again, a college which is most popular on most of our students' college lists, of course, given its location as well. So Lalit, you are definitely, a student on a gap year where you ensured that your gap year story was beautifully articulated in your application. But my first question to you is, Lalit, can you help share a brief snapshot of your profile that helps families understand what can make the cut at a college like NYU, which receives over 100,000, 110,000 applications? Thanks.
I did the Cambridge curriculum for my O levels and A levels. So during my O levels, I achieved 7 A stars, and I got 3 A stars and 2 A's for my A levels. And I also did the SAT, and I think I got 1570 out of 1600 for that.
Wow, lovely. And Lalit, I kind of also do know that, computer science was a passion for you from very early on. You have been actively engaged in computer science projects since as early as grade 9, which showcases a very long-standing curiosity for this field. Can you share a few activities that you've done over the years? Because when we talk about computer science, computer engineering, male, Asia, we tell families it is brutal. It's practically a bloodbath. So your activities will help families understand, the kind of things one can do.
I have been consistently working on computer science projects since I think grade 9, when I first developed the passion for it. I've worked on learning several programming languages, and I've built projects around them. And in the last 2 years, I also developed a passion for Linux. So I developed several projects based around it.
Can you give us a few examples of the projects that you've delved into? Because I know the gardening project is so exciting, and you took the gap year to really hone into that, dive into that. And that's where your gap year story was so robust. So can you share a little bit on those lines?
Yeah, so during my gap year, I got to know about a competition, a startup competition that was based around the theme of AI. So I decided to enter in it, and I decided to use the inspirations that I had from my roots of living in a small coastal city in Sri Lanka, and I developed the most sustainable gardening solution that also uses AI, and I presented it in that competition.
Fantastic. So just I want families to note that what Lalit has showcased through his activities is, firstly, he tied it back to his roots, just like the way our other, applicants have been sharing, that Lalit is from a small town, in Sri Lanka, where he had witnessed certain sort of gaps. He then identified on working on a solution using his passion, which was computer science. So he devised certain, programs on making gardening more effective, more efficient. He also participated in certain competitions with regard to the same. And the idea is showcase that, okay, I am using my passion or my academic interest in being a problem solver. I've identified a passion, I've identified a problem, and I'm also now working towards identifying a solution. So that makes you that is what admission officers love to see, that you are a problem solver. You are thinking on how to be a global citizen, on being a citizen, or how having giving back to the community, because that is what college education is about. They want to see where are you using that education, what do you want to do with that education, how do you want to impact the world around you. That is a really, really big thing that they love to see. So yes, my advice to families always is that it could be something, a simple problem in your backyard, but try to think on how you can showcase on, thinking on being a problem solver. That is also fantastic. I forgot to add that, Lalit has been successfully admitted to NYU, Arizona State University, Penn State, but NYU was his ED. Okay, my next question to you, Lalit, is how did your story highlight aspects of your personal growth that are not reflected in the other parts of your application?
So in my Common App essay, as I mentioned before, I highlighted my deep roots to my childhood, growing up in a small town, and I also told a story of how visiting an uncle in a big city opened my eyes to the limitations that I felt that I would face living in a small town, and how it sparked my ambition for learning, and how this experience and this story made me want to pursue an 8-month diploma in computer science during my gap year after I finished my A-levels, and how during this time I worked on that AI gardening solution. And I felt that particularly since I was a gap year student, I felt that my personal essay was very important, since I was able to explain to them how I use my gap year, and I was able to explain the other aspects of my personality, about my ambition, that I wasn't able to do in other parts of the application.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lalit, for very rightly sharing that, yes, you used your essay to share not only, of course, the story behind your gap year, but what is it that, what did you aspire to, kind of how do you want to use your gap year and your growth through that 1 year. Common App essay is all also about communicating your growth through whether certain activities, certain challenges, certain contributions. My next question to you is, Lalit, you applied ED to NYU.
Yeah.
ED is a binding application for all our families attending. It is binding across the globe. It is where you basically sign a sort of a commitment. Your parents will sign it as well as your school counselor. So it is not a commitment that you can backtrack from. So my question to you, Lalit, is how did you decide on NYU being your ED, which is a binding application?
I chose NYU as my early decision college primarily because of its location. I felt that because it's located in New York City, which is one of the biggest cities in the world, and which hosts the headquarters and the offices of some of the leading IT companies in the world, I felt that it would offer me better opportunities for internships and for networking and for basically building my personality. And NYU is deeply integrated with New York City. My campus, which is Tandon, and my dorms are located in one of the most important business areas in Brooklyn. So I felt that because of this, I would get a much better college experience and better opportunities by studying at NYU. And since you generally have a higher acceptance rate when you applied through early decision, I felt that I needed to get the best chances possible. So I decided to sign the early decision agreement.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lalit. Thank you for highlighting that, yes, there is a strategy behind ED, applying early decision, because most colleges and, they do publish data that they do fill up close to 40% of their class or 50% sometimes of their incoming class in early decision. So your chances are 2 times or 3 times higher compared to the regular pool. So early decision is a college that you truly desire to be. It could be a college that is something that you really aspire for. So if your profile you feel is somewhere close to it, of course, it's not like it bumps up your chances by 2 and 3 times if your profile is not as close to the kind of applicant pool that they attract. But if it is, then applying in the early decision can definitely help bump up your chances by 2 to 3%. And it is something that is worth considering, because and there are also many other benefits. You hear back early, you're done, you get to enjoy the rest of your the last couple of months of your grade 12. In all, I think it's a win-win situation. So, but do use that early decision very intelligently. My next last question to you is, what is your advice to future applicants?
I think, first of all, and most importantly, you need to be realistic. I think you highlighted the acceptance rates at some of the new age Ivy universities, and they are very difficult to get into. But at the same time, I feel that you need to take your chances, because I was not very confident about getting into NYU. I remember that I even told my parents that my chances of getting accepted were very slim. But at the same time, I applied and I did manage to get in. So I feel that the students of this batch also, while they need to be realistic, they also need to take their chances, because you'll never know unless you try. And secondly, I feel that you need to do the tests such as the SAT or the SAT or your English proficiency exams like the IELTS or the TOEFL beforehand, because I remember that I got my English proficiency test results around 2 weeks before the early action deadline. So while I did manage to get the results that I wanted, I feel that if I had not gotten a good enough score, I wouldn't have had a margin of safety to fall back on. So I feel that you need to do it beforehand.
Fantastic, Lalit. Yeah, very rightly highlighted. That's a great point. on the English proficiency test. As international students, most colleges will require you to have that English proficiency test. It could be the IELTS, TOEFL, also there's Duolingo. You could be an IB student, you could be studying, you could be a US citizen studying outside the country. But most often, yes, sometimes they do waive it, or you will get an English proficiency waiver. But there could be that one odd college, and we've seen that through experience. There could be that one odd college in that list of 10 that will still not waive it. And then at the last minute, you don't want to be putting yourself through that stress. So we definitely advise all our students that it's a simple English proficiency. It's a simple test. So try to wrap it up as early as possible. That just keeps you so much more stress-free. Tanushri, did you also wrap that up early, or was that last minute for you?
It was kind of in the middle, so I did it during the summer of 11th and 12th to ensure that
Perfect.
I have enough time and I'm not stressed
Yeah.
out during my application.
Exactly. That's a great time to, I think, wrap it up. Fantastic. So thank you, Lalit, so much for that. And of course, you have some really exciting times now moving forward. Moving on to Tanushri, the spotlight's on you, the spotlight's on Tufts. Again, a fantastic university, very, very popular on everyone's college list. Just helping her families understand Tanushri's brilliant acceptances. Tanushri was accepted to UMass Amherst, University of Wisconsin-Madison, UIUC, UC Davis, Northeastern, UCSD, the George Washington University, Emory, Penn State. She was also awarded the UMass Amherst Scholarship of $64,000. A scholarship, even of course, admitted to Flame University. Flame awarded you 4 lakhs per year. UC Davis, a scholarship of $53,000. And the George Washington University awarded you $40,000 of scholarship. These are some amazing merit scholarships. Just a note for families, these are merit scholarships. These are not need-based scholarships. There is a difference, of course, that need-based is where you are asking the university, or you're demonstrating that, you will require the finances or the funding to complete your time at that college, whereas these scholarships are all merit-based, which is basis, your profile. So a quick snapshot, Tanushri, of, your activities, your data that can help families understand what helped make the cut.
Yeah, so in grade 10, I got 7 A stars in my IGCSE curriculum. And in the IBDP curriculum, I had a predicted of 42. I got a 1470 on my SAT, and I was the head girl of DY Patil in grade 11. I was the MISA topper in grade 10 for school, and I also had a few in-house school topper achievements for different subjects.
Fantastic. Super. Sorry, were you adding something?
Well,
Okay, super. Yeah, so that is some solid leadership, solid academics. Tanushri, can you share, your extracurriculars and co-curriculars that helped you dive into your passions and academic interests? Because you were conflicted between, psychology, not psychology. So your approach to extracurriculars was very interesting, where you knew that it is through your extracurriculars you would be more sure of what you're leaning towards. So that's a great angle to sort of embrace. So can you talk a little bit about these extracurriculars?
Yeah, so I've done a few internships in psychology over the summer, and I always knew that I was a bit inclined towards understanding how the human mind works. But at the same time, I was not sure. So I had done the Wharton competition for investment to also understand whether I want to go towards economics or no. But I think these internships in psychology, as well as writing a few articles for a school journal on mental health, it made me understand that psychology was the right fit for me, as well as it made me understand that this is what I truly want to pursue in university. These internships were minor, like I was able to open my perspective to a lot of different things, where I was able to connect women's reproductive health to mental health, and I was also able to understand how mental health is diminished in a lot of areas till late in parts of Mumbai itself. So it gave me a lot of clarity on what I wanted to do. And I realized one thing about activities is that it's important to be organic and authentic. It isn't just something you do to fill up the list.
Absolutely. That is Such good, mature advice, which I wish all the students on the webinar really make a note of. Yes, when you are engaging or when you're thinking ahead, you feel, okay, what's going to look good on that application? It's not about that. It's not about admission officers say. Don't try to be that individual that you feel admission officers want to see or you feel will impress. Your genuineness and your authenticity will reflect, and that is what's going to impress. Fantastic, Tanushri. Tanushri, my next question to you is, what factors did you consider while finalizing Tufts as your, final choice, that the college that you want to matriculate? Because you were debating between Emory and Tufts, both which are absolutely fantastic colleges, the similar sort of size. So what are the factors that you factored in?
So, of course, I looked at ranking, but ranking was not my deciding factor because ranking doesn't just take into account factors that are relevant to undergraduate students. It also takes into account research, funding, and many different things that don't really matter to us. I was able to evaluate different factors from something as simple as location to class sizes to professors. I think meeting the admission representatives as well as talking to different students at the universities helped me understand the culture at Emory and Tufts both. Being in the Boston community at Tufts, there are a lot of opportunities that are there, research opportunities, and civics was something that's really close to my heart. And it is a hallmark at Tufts, and it is a requirement, in fact, to graduate. So I think this is something that I really took into consideration, as well as community service overall and the importance each university gives to it.
Fantastic, Tanushri. So I think you truly sort of, I think, were convinced that this is the right fit for me because you went into the civic engagement, which you have been doing in your activities through a period of time. That is very rightly, as you said, is a hallmark, the cornerstone when it comes to the Tufts undergrad experience, one of the graduating requirements. So you realized through the right sort of research that this is the place that you want to be. And I really like the fact that you also highlighted rankings. Yes, for our audience, that families do, and it's natural, right? That yes, we do sometimes look at rankings when we talk about colleges, but rankings are not the best way to influence your college decisions. Rankings take into account so many factors that are not relevant at all at the undergrad level. There are factors such as um, faculty to student ratio. There are the amount of funding offered to colleges, the amount of research that is being done, the retention and the graduation rate, the faculty tenure, many factors, in fact, that are not relevant. US rankings, QS rankings are the two major rankings, and each one of them has different parameters, in fact. So understanding the program, what is it and rankings are overall, but there are certain programs that are very strong at certain universities. So knowing the program in depth is more important, I think, over ranking. So thank you, Tanushri, for highlighting that. My question to you, Tanushri, on going test optional or test, where you submitted your test. So you had a score of, 1470. You submitted that at, at most of your colleges. So what is your advice on submitting testing a test or, going test optional?
So I think
what was your strategy behind that?
So I think first you would look at the range that each university has, and that's usually different. So if you see yourself being in the above average, I think it's always beneficial to submit your test scores because it adds depth, and it adds an extra layer to your application to showcase the admission officers that you're more and that you can take on this academic rigor.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And we always tell families that colleges are test optional. Yes, data does show at many colleges, which is again college specific, but data does show that over 60% of the class admitted has submitted test scores. So by submitting a test score, you are helping admission officers give that one more metric to your academic potential, which is, as we started off, is the most important sort of the backbone to your application. But there is a strategy around that as well. As Tanushri very rightly sort of, highlighted, looking at the range of the SAT scores or the ACT scores at that university should be a sort of the needle that helps you decide whether to submit your test scores at certain colleges or whether to go test optional. Again, this is just for your information that many colleges in the recent few months have reinstated their test scores. So again, making a note of which are the colleges where test scores are absolutely mandatory is another important factor that will go into making that, final shortlist. Okay, so with that, Tanushree, your last piece of advice to potential applicants.
So I think I would like I said before, ranking is not really important. Look beyond rankings, talk to students there, meet admission professors, and make sure that your application is authentic and it truly showcases who you are. I think a lot of people do stress out about this whole process, but if you honestly take it one step at a time, enjoy the process, I think it's going to be a very lovely experience for you and something you will miss after you do get into college.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tanushree. That was great advice. I am going to open up the floor to a few questions that I can see. So feel free to answer them. So we have a student asking us, Lalit, why did you take a gap year? You may be inspiring a few to take a gap year here.
To be perfectly frank, it was not something that I had chosen to do. I'm glad that I took a gap year, but it was not something that I had originally chosen to do. I had different plans for my higher education back when I finished my school year, and it was, I think, only in August last year that I reached out to Red Pen. So I think, yeah, but at the same time, I feel that a gap year can be beneficial, but I think it depends on your specific circumstances.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lalit, for that. Next question, Tanushree, if you want to take it, how much did you score in your IELTS?
I got an 8.0 or 9. So yeah.
Fantastic. Super. Just for families to know, your English proficiency test is not every college also sometimes does publish within the English proficiency test the sub scores. So you also need to ensure that you are, definitely above the sub scores and you are overall, you have a good English proficiency score. The next question okay, that's for us, that how do we get to know about merit-based scholarships? We will be going forward, we will be sharing our contact details. We can definitely have a conversation because there are many merit scholarships. But just for families to also understand that merit scholarships sometimes have a separate application. Sometimes there is a separate application requirement. It could be additional essays. It could be an earlier deadline. So it's very important to note that one needs to plan for all of this well ahead of time. Can we move on to the next slide because we'll be running short? Okay. One more important point that I wanted to highlight out here was that there is a shift also by, recruiting firms and by the hiring managers. Colleges now emphasize, and this is an article that was published in the New York Times, the colleges do advocate, hiring officers and hiring officers, recruiting firms do emphasize on now on skills more than pedigree. We've shared the link to this complete article of New York Times, but it's a fab article where hiring officers by McKinsey, Accenture, all these big names, they are advocating and they know that we are in the day and age of skill building, because by the time students graduate, it's a very different time and era that we're going to be in. So they are emphasizing on the way they're looking at skills versus pedigree. Then we go on to the next slide and we've got some important, yes. That is Katie George from McKinsey, that firms have increased the number of schools that it now hires from 700 to 1,500. So it is very important that, yes, let's focus on the skills that you're building while you're at college, rather than just, focusing only on that brand or that pedigree when you're also making that shortlist. The next slide again talks about, from Goldman and Sachs, that it is now that they encounter talent from places where they previously never went to. So again, for students and families here, yes, is the time to work on ensuring that you're exploring college and grabbing all those opportunities to make the most of that journey, and most about, focusing on your skills. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Yes. So with that, we come towards the end of our Journey to College session. I hope this has been insightful. We've thoroughly enjoyed bringing all that information to you all. And I hope you have enjoyed listening to all the insights and walking away with a lot of food for thought over the weekend. We also would like to take I would like to take this opportunity also to add that we are offering a fantastic new service, which is your applications can be evaluated by ex-selective ex-admission officers from highly selective colleges such as Northwestern, Bowdoin, Yale. So feel free to connect with us if you wish to know more about that. Feel free to leave us a Google review if you wish to, knowing more about certain such information sessions or any topics that you would want us to bring to you. And we will be more than happy to curate that. The next slide will show, feel free to connect with us if you have any questions with regards to higher education, small queries, whether it's subject selection, boarding school applications, if you wish to change schools, which is a right fit curricula, and of course, if you wish to be mentored in your college selection and college application journey. You have the code out here. You can scan this code. You can connect with us anytime. With that, thank you so much, Tanushri, Lalit. Your insights, your advice, your genuine sort of information and experience that you shared has been so helpful, and this information really resonates with future aspirants. It's that time of sort of the high school journey where whether it's parents, whether it is high school counselors or the independent counselors, but if they are most motivated or inspired by, it is yours. So thank you so much. I look forward to staying connected. I look forward to seeing where your college journey takes you. And next year, hosting you all with you all sharing the actual advice as being college students. So thank you so much. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And